So my sixth question for you would be, besides working with Hey Blue, amazing initiative, what are you doing outside or inside your community to help build better bonds between police officers and the citizens?
Well, it's an excellent question. I am heavily invested in Hey Blue. So there's, as you know, several pieces to the Hey Blue puzzle and a ton more to come. So I enjoy going out with John and Hey Blue for Hey Blue Selfies for Change. You know, I love story time. And when we're not in COVID, although I got to say, COVID was good to us. I know that sounds super weird and hard to understand, but COVID was good to us in that we went from South Brevard County public schools and then as far north as the charter school in Cocoa, Emma Jewel, to having to do it virtually and going nationwide and then really international now with the advisory council. So it actually was a force multiplier. John loves it when I use that word, but a force multiplier for Hey Blue and building that network and getting the expanse. So that's pretty full time. I absolutely educate my daughter, and we talk about social issues and things that are in the news, and not just police stuff, but Black Lives Matter and justice and equity and equality. Right. And, you know, in a number of things. And really anybody who'll sit down and listen, you know, that I will tell them about Hey Blue and everything that we do. And then in the police department, I'm the commander of the community services division. So my division is really all of the forward facing stuff. So it's the community resource officers, it's recruiting. We're going to come back to that. It's the SROs, it's the community service officers. So it's all of the, other than the police officers in black and white police cars responding to calls, it's all of that community interaction, community connectivity, super duper important always, but especially right now. So that's really where I spend a great deal of my time and energy.
Well, that's amazing that you sit and you talk to your daughter, because most, I know in my generation, most parents sort of just leave their kids like astray. And it's difficult to find parents who really want to sit down and really want to connect with their kid. That's like, hey, this is what's going on now, and this is what you need to know, you know, because you're preparing us for when, you know, we get older. And I thought that was amazing when you stated that, because I go to school with a lot of kids who are just completely blind to the fact that I'm like, you know, no offense to the parents, but, you know, what are you teaching your kids? What substance are you giving them? You know? So, yeah.
And I think part of that is because these can be hard conversations, and parenting in and of itself can be hard depending on the age too. But, and sometimes they don't know how to have the conversation. Right. And sometimes they might not have all the information to have the conversation. So it's initiatives just like this, just like Black Lives Matter, just like some of the other social justice groups that are going on and the conversations that are being had, that will hopefully educate the masses so that they can educate their families as well. So,
right. And now actually off of that, do you tend to not really screen? I know this is a personal question, so forgive me, but with your 17-year-old, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, everything that goes on, do you when you mention sitting down and talking to her about right from wrong, do you go through a depict? Like, does she come to you, she's like, hey, Dad, you know, this is what happened. And you're like, yeah, you know, hang on, that's false. Let's sit down, let's talk about it. Do you have many conversations that spawn off of social media?
Absolutely. Okay. Some of them from mine to her, some of them from her to mine. We of course share funny cat videos also, but
right.
I do limit some of her electronics and social media access. She has earned trust through the years to be able to expand out and show me that she can use it responsibly. I trust but verify. I still have the kill switch to take everything off of her phone but the ability to call me. And she's a great kid though. She checks in and we have conversations about a lot of stuff, and I have tried to create an environment that she can come to me and talk about absolutely anything without judgment, and to be able to work through issues or questions, or if she has a significant problem that she's got a safe space to talk so we can work through it.
Right. That's good. Because like I said, most parents are sort of just like, you'll figure it out. Just, you know, that's amazing. I can't think of a better way to raise a kid. I'm sorry. Being involved in, you know, your child's life, I think that's something.
Well, you touched on it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
Well, what I was going to add was my dad actually, he sits down And every day it's a conversation that helps me excel. It's literally nothing more, nothing less. He's very blunt and he's straight to the point. So whenever something happens, I'm like, hey, Dad, this just happened on social media. He's like, no, all right, let's sit down and let's talk about it. And he was just telling me the other day he wishes that there were more parents, regardless of the career field that you're in, that will sit down and speak to your kids about it. So
agreed. Parenting is a lost art, it appears.
Yeah.
But you touched on something, and now I can't remember what it was, but I wanted to go back to. So parenting is about not just telling my kid what to do. It's preparing my child to be her own person and have independence and take care of herself. So you have to prepare them to be able to do that. You can't just not answer questions and not educate them and not prepare them for life. You just can't do that.
Right.
And I've also found a fan of your dad. He is, I think, high speed, low drag like me. So we're just going to get straight to the point so we can discuss the issue and move on.
Thank you. Thank you. He is very much so. Like sometimes, and like you said, you've got to use your medical expertise to deal with your daughter. Sometimes I'll be like, Dad, and he's like, you're too emotional. I don't understand why you're complaining. Like, why? And I'm like, Dad, it's important. He's like, he ends up calling Mom, and Mom's like, Armone, this is what it is, And so that was funny when you mentioned that.
I have to try to switch into mom mode. Because sometimes those guys just don't get it, right? So I have to switch.
Right.
And be there for her so she's got somebody to vent to and understand without trying to solve the problem.
Right.